By 1955, there'd been an uneasy peace in Europe for the last 10 years, as the major world powers had danced around each other, testing each other out in events in Greece and the Berlin blockade. However, neither the Western powers nor the Soviet Union wanted a war in Europe. It would be economically disastrous, and the outcome of such a conflict would be extremely uncertain. Neither side was prepared to risk a war unless they had a reasonable hope of having a fairly rapid victory. The balancing of the forces, however, came under threat from two related but opposite factors. The first of these was that on the 9th of May 1955, West Germany was actually incorporated into NATO. This after the Soviet Union had asked to join the previous year but had actually been rebuffed. But whether the Soviet Union's attempt to join NATO had been an attempt to destabilise the alliance or actually a serious attempt by the new leadership to develop a less confrontational foreign policy following the death of Stalin a year earlier, or even a combination of both of these, is still hotly debated. However, with the Soviet Union now out in the cold and a resurgent West Germany now in NATO, it wasn't just the Russians who were concerned. Czechoslovakia, Poland and East Germany all had fears that a rearmed, powerful West Germany would attempt to reunite East Germany with them and then move on to claim back historical territory in Poland and Czechoslovakia, mirroring what had happened at the start of the Second World War. And as a result, the governments in these countries looked to a closer cooperation with each other. But it wasn't just external difficulties that these communist countries now face, there were also internal difficulties. The populations of Poland and Hungary in particular had never had great popular support for communism. With a lack of freedom under the state-controlled economy, along with a comparatively poor standard of living compared to those seen in the West, the dissatisfaction with communism was growing. The governments were concerned that if this continued, it could potentially lead to the governments being overthrown. So to head all this off, the Soviet Union proposed a military assistance treaty to go alongside the existing economic treaty between the communist countries of Eastern Europe. The Warsaw Treaty, the 14th of May 1955, included at the start Albania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Poland, Romania and the Soviet Union. The Warsaw Pact, as it came to be known, though it was more than just a military alliance, was also a political one. Though most of the political and military power came from the Soviet Union, their headquarters was in Warsaw in Poland. It wasn't the first military alliance of the Communist bloc. The previous alliances had been bilateral arrangements between the Soviet Union and the others. Now they're all united together with a common purpose. Now, the somewhat rushed implementation of the Warsaw Treaty did mean it had quite a few flaws in its actual operation, but it did have two strategically important results. Firstly, due to the perceived threat from the West, the amount of armed forces was going to be significantly increased. And secondly, the majority of the weapons for the countries in the Warsaw Pact countries were going to be standardised, which meant if a conflict were going to happen, the logistics of keeping the army supplied would be far easier than that on the NATO side of a potential conflict. So 1955, formation of the Warsaw Pact.